The vast emptiness of space hid many secrets. Among them were 3 species who had evolved on planets that tried to kill them every day. These Deathworlds created tough beings who survived against all odds. 2 of these species had just found each other. The third watched from a distance. Captain Elijah Warren stood on the observation deck of the USS Vigilant. His dark eyes focused on the large screen showing 2 alien fleets approaching each other near the edge of the Orion Spur. One fleet had ships that looked like smooth river stones, their surfaces gleaming with a greenish light. The other fleet had ships that reminded Warren of wasp nests, with rough cell-like patterns covering their hulls. "The Saurians have made contact with the Kreks," said Lieutenant Olivia Ramsey. She brushed her red hair away from her face as she handed Warren a data pad. "First contact protocols initiated 20 minutes ago." Warren nodded. As Earth's best xenobiologist, he had studied both species from afar for years. The Saurians were tall reptilian beings with thick scales and powerful muscles. They came from a high-gravity world with constant earthquakes and volcanic activity. The Kreks were insect-like creatures from a planet bathed in radiation with air that would kill most life forms. Both had evolved to be perfect survivors. "They're going to hate each other," Warren said quietly. "Sir?" Ramsey asked. "2 apex predator species meeting in deep space? History tells us this won't end well." Warren zoomed in on the main Saurian ship. "Look at their design. Everything about them screams power and dominance. And the Kreks are no better with their hive mentality." The human ship stayed hidden, its advanced stealth systems making it invisible to both alien fleets. Humanity had learned long ago that sometimes watching and waiting was the best strategy. "Communications are picking up their transmissions," said Communications Officer Ben Foster. His fingers moved quickly across his console. "Translating now." The main screen flickered and showed the inside of the Saurian command ship. A large reptilian being stood in the center. Its scales shimmered with dark green and gold colors. Next, to it appeared a split screen showing a Krek's representative. The insectoid had a hard exoskeleton with blue-black coloring and multiple limbs that moved constantly. "I am High Commander Vrex of the Saurian Dominion," the reptilian being said, its voice deep and powerful even through the translation. "We claim this sector for expansion of our people." The Krex's mandibles clicked before it spoke. "I am Hive Director Kaztik of the Kreks Collective. This sector borders our territory. We have already marked it for colonization." Warren watched as the 2 alien leaders sized each other up. Neither showed fear. Neither would back down. "Your kind are new to us," Vrex said. "We have conquered 12 systems in this area of space. Our claims are backed by strength." "Numbers are strength," Kaztik replied. "We have billions. How many worlds can you protect against our swarms?" The human crew watched in silence. This was exactly what Earth Command had feared. 2 powerful species both evolved on worlds that created natural warriors, meeting in the depths of space. "We should report this to Earth immediately," Ramsey said. Warren nodded. "Prepare a full data package, include everything we're seeing and hearing." The Saurian commander leaned forward. "Perhaps there is no need for conflict yet. Tell me of your worlds, Kreks. What kind of environment breeds such interesting creatures?" The Kreks leader's antennae twitched. "Our homeworld is bathed in radiation that would kill lesser beings. Acid rains fall regularly. The strongest survive. What of your people, Saurian?" "Our world has twice the gravity of most habitable planets. The ground shakes constantly. Volcanoes reshape our continents every few decades. We adapted. We became stronger." Warren turned to the ship's science officer, Lisa Duncan. "They're comparing survival stories. They're trying to establish dominance without fighting." Duncan nodded. "Classic behavior for apex species. They're looking for weaknesses." The conversation between the alien leaders continued. They discussed resources, territories, and technology. On the surface, it seemed civil. But Warren could see the tension building. Both sides were scanning each other, evaluating threats, planning strategies. "Have we been detected?" Warren asked. "Negative, Captain," said Security Chief Keith Jackson. His dark skin contrasted with the blue light from his console. "Our stealth systems are holding. They have no idea we're watching." Earth had kept its true capabilities secret from the rest of the galaxy. While other worlds knew humans existed, they thought of Earth as a minor world with limited technology. No one knew that humans had also evolved on a death world, that Earth's changing climates and countless dangers had created a species just as tough as the Saurians or Kreks. "They're setting up a second meeting," Foster reported, "in 3 days, at a neutral location near the gas giant in System J9. Warren watched as the alien leaders ended their transmission. The Saurian commander immediately turned to his officers and began barking orders. The Kreks leader did the same. "They're preparing for war while talking peace," Warren said. "Classic move." Back in his quarters, Warren recorded his report for Earth Command. He spoke clearly as the computer captured his words. "2 Death World species have made contact in Sector 7. Initial meetings showed signs of immediate competition and territory disputes. Both the Saurians and Kreks display classic apex predator behaviors. They are comparing strengths, establishing dominance, and likely preparing for conflict while maintaining diplomatic channels." He paused, looking at the star chart on his wall. "Recommendation? Prepare the fleet. If these 2 species go to war, it could destabilize this entire section of the galaxy, and if they somehow join forces, they could become a threat to human expansion. Either way, we may need to reveal ourselves sooner than planned." Warren ended his recording and looked out his small window at the stars. Somewhere out there, 2 powerful alien forces were preparing for a possible war. They thought they were the most dangerous beings in this part of space. They were wrong. Humans had survived their own deadly world. They had endured ice ages, plagues, world wars, and near extinction. They had adapted not just through physical evolution but through their minds and their technology. Warren hoped the aliens would find peace, but if they didn't, humanity was ready to show them what a true Death World species could do. 3 months passed. The peace talks between the Saurians and the Kreks had failed. Small fights broke out along the borders of their territories. Both sides blamed the other for starting the trouble. Commander Gregory Hayes walked through the long hallway of Earth Command headquarters. His uniform was crisp and his steps were quick. Under his arm, he carried a datapad with his report. The Joint Chiefs were waiting. He entered the large meeting room where 5 admirals sat around a half-circle table. Large screens covered the walls, showing maps of space with red and blue dots marking the positions of Saurian and Krek ships. "Commander Hayes," said Admiral Patricia Morgan. Her gray hair was pulled back in a tight bun. "Tell us the latest." Hayes stood straight and placed his datapad on the small podium. "The situation has gotten worse. Both fleets are now fully mobilized. We've detected weapons being powered up on both sides." He touched the screen, and a new image appeared on the wall. It showed a green and blue planet. "This is the main problem," Hayes said. "The planet is called Nexus Prime. Both sides want it. It has rich minerals and can support life for both species. The Saurians claim they found it first. The Kreks say it sits in their expansion zone." Admiral Morgan leaned forward. "How close are they to actual war?" "Very close," Hayes replied. "They've moved beyond small skirmishes. Last week, a Saurian patrol ship was destroyed near the planet. 2 days ago, the Kreks lost a mining facility to what they claim was a Saurian sneak attack. Another admiral, a man with a thick beard, spoke up. "And what do they know about us, about humanity?" Hayes changed the image again. Now it showed intercepted communications and data from both alien species. "Not much," he said. "They've picked up some of our signals over the years. They know humans exist, but they think we're a small, weak species on a backwater planet. They have no idea about our fleet or our technology." "Good," Admiral Morgan said. "We need to keep it that way for now." On Nexus Prime, the fighting had already started. The Saurians had built a military base on the northern continent. Their buildings were made of a strange metal that could repair itself over time. Tall guard towers watched the skies for enemies. Commander Jax, a young Saurian officer, looked through his scanner at the valley below his position. His scales had a reddish tint, marking him as from the desert regions of the Saurian homeworld. "Movement detected," said his second-in-command. 2 kilometers east. Jax adjusted his scanner. Through it, he could see hundreds of Kreks workers building structures in the valley. They moved with incredible speed, their 6 limbs allowing them to carry materials that would require machines for saurians to move. "They don't stop," Jack said with a mix of hate and respect. "Those insect monsters just keep building." "Orders, sir?" asked his second. Jax thought for a moment. His orders were to secure the area for saurian mining operations. The Kreks were clearly doing the same for their people. "Prepare the troops," he said finally. "We move at dawn." In orbit above Nexus Prime, a small human observation ship floated silently. Its stealth systems kept it hidden from both the saurian and Krek ships that circled the planet. Lieutenant Olivia Ramsey looked at the data coming in from the surface. "They're both digging in," she told Captain Warren. "The saurians have established defensive positions on the high ground. The Kreks are building faster than we thought possible." Warren nodded grimly. "And Earth Command?" "They've ordered us to maintain observation only," Ramsey replied. "The 7th Fleet is being prepared, but they won't send it yet." Warren wasn't sure that was the right call. From his studies of both species, he knew neither would back down. The saurians were too proud, the Kreks too determined. "Sir," called out Communications Officer Foster. "I'm picking up transmissions from the surface. The saurian commander is ordering his troops to move against the Krek's position." Warren closed his eyes briefly. So it begins. On the surface of Nexus Prime, Commander Jax led his troops through the morning mist. 100 saurian soldiers moved silently despite their size and strength. They carried energy rifles and wore armor that adapted to their surroundings, changing color to help them blend in. When they reached the edge of the Krek's construction site, Jax raised his hand, signaling his troops to stop. Through the mist, he could see thousands of Krek's workers building. Some dug into the ground while others assembled structures. "Ready weapons," Jax said quietly. His troops raised their rifles. Jax was about to give the order to fire when a voice called out, "We see you, Saurian." From behind a half-built structure stepped a Krek's warrior. Unlike the workers, this one was larger, its exoskeleton thicker and darker. It carried no visible weapons, but Jax knew the Krek's warriors had natural weapons built into their bodies. "This valley belongs to the Saurian Dominion," Jax called out. "Leave now or face our might." "This valley belongs to the Krek's collective," the warrior replied. "We claimed it with our labor. We will defend it with our lives." For a moment, neither side moved. Then, without warning, more Krek's warriors appeared. They had been hiding underground, waiting. Jax realized too late that it was a trap. "Fire!" he shouted. The battle was short, but brutal. Energy blasts from saurian rifles cut down many Kreks, but for each one that fell, 3 more appeared. The Krek swarmed over the saurian positions, using their natural strength and numbers to overwhelm the reptilian soldiers. By midday, most of Jax's force was dead or captured. The Kreks had won this battle, but the war was just beginning. News of the defeat reached the saurian fleet. High Commander Vrex was furious. He ordered immediate retaliation. Saurian ships bombarded Krek's positions from orbit. The Kreks responded by sending thousands of small attack ships against the saurian fleet. In Earth Command headquarters, Admiral Morgan watched the reports come in. "Both sides have committed to full-scale war," she said. "Over one planet." Hayes nodded. "That's how Deathworld species think, Admiral. Resources mean survival. They'll fight to the last soldier for them." Morgan looked at the latest intelligence. The USS Vigilant reports that 3 more saurian battlecruisers have entered the system. The Kreks have called for reinforcements from 2 nearby colonies. She stood up and walked to the large window that looked out over Earth's Pacific Ocean. In the distance, she could see the construction of humanity's newest warship. "Prepare the 7th Fleet," she said, "and send word to Captain Miller. Tell him the USS Intrepid may be needed sooner than we thought." Hayes saluted and left to carry out her orders. As he walked away, he wondered if the alien species had any idea what they were about to face. Humans had learned long ago that the true strength of a Deathworld species wasn't just in their ability to fight, it was in their ability to end fights. Earth had one last hope for peace. They called it Outpost Zeta 9, a neutral space station far from the fighting. Here, diplomats from the Saurian Dominion and the Krex Collective would meet with human mediators. If this failed, war would spread across the entire sector. Dr. Abigail Foster checked her appearance one last time. Her dark suit was clean and proper. Her short blonde hair was neatly combed. As Earth's top expert in alien diplomacy, she knew appearances mattered. Different species had different ideas about respect, but everyone understood effort. "Ready, Doctor?" asked Lieutenant Daniel Harris. The young officer would be her assistant during the talks. "As ready as I'll ever be," Foster replied. "Remember, these are both Deathworld species. They think differently than most. Survival is everything to them." They walked through the curved hallway of the space station. Guards from all three species stood at regular intervals. The human guards wore simple blue uniforms. The Saurian guards stood tall in their scale-like armor. The Krex guards seemed to blend into the walls, their exoskeletons changing color slightly. The meeting room was large and round. A table in the center had 3 sections, one for each group. Foster took her place at the human section, with Harris standing behind her. Minutes later, the Saurian and Krex delegations entered from opposite doors. The lead Saurian diplomat was named Threx. His scales were pale blue, showing his age and experience. The Krex sent Tizrik, a female whose exoskeleton bore special markings of her high rank in the hive. "Welcome," Foster said, standing. "I am Dr. Abigail Foster of Earth. We thank you both for coming to these peace talks." Threx made a gesture with his clawed hand. "The Saurian Dominion seeks peace through strength. We are willing to listen, but our demands remain." Tizrik's antennae twitched. "The Krex Collective has lost many workers to Saurian aggression. We demand compensation and territory." Foster could feel the tension in the room. This would not be easy. "Before we begin with specific demands," she said calmly, "I would like to propose a resource-sharing agreement for Nexus Prime. Our scientists have studied the planet. It has enough resources for both your peoples if managed correctly." "Sharing?" Threx hissed. "Your human ideas are strange. The strong take what they need, the weak perish. This is the law of all Deathworlds." "Not all Deathworlds," Foster corrected him. "On Earth, we learned to cooperate despite our differences. It made us stronger." Tizrik clicked her mandibles. "Your hive mentality sounds efficient," she said to Foster. "The Saurians cannot understand this. They think only as individuals." "Individual strength builds strong societies," Threx countered. "Your hive mind makes you nothing but drones." Foster raised her hand. "Please, we are here to find common ground." The talks continued for hours. Small agreements were made, then broken. Maps were drawn, then torn up. Threats were exchanged, then withdrawn. Foster worked tirelessly, trying to find solutions that both sides could accept. During a short break, Harris approached Foster with a concerned look. "Doctor," he whispered, "something's wrong. I'm detecting unusual energy readings from both delegations' ships docked at the station." Foster frowned. "What kind of readings?" "Weapons systems," Harris said. "They're powering up." Foster looked across the room where the alien diplomats were speaking with their staff. "Are they planning to attack each other? Here?" "I can't be sure," Harris replied, "but I don't like it." Foster nodded. "Alert our ship. Have them ready for emergency departure." When the talks resumed, Foster noticed a change in both alien diplomats. They seemed less interested in the discussions. Threx kept checking a small device on his wrist. Tizrik's antennae were moving constantly, a sign of agitation in her species. "Perhaps we should discuss the mining rights for the southern continent," Foster suggested, trying to keep the talks going. Before either diplomat could respond, a loud alarm sounded throughout the station. "What is that?" Threx demanded. A human officer rushed into the room. "Multiple ships have opened fire near the station. We're in the line of fire." Foster stood quickly. "This meeting is suspended. All delegations should return to their ships immediately." Outside the station, chaos had erupted. A Krex escort vessel had fired on a Saurian cruiser, claiming it had detected targeting locks. The Saurian ship returned fire, destroying two smaller Krex vessels. Within minutes, the battle spread across the entire area. Foster, Harris, and the EBA human delegation ran for their ship. The station shook as stray weapons fire hit its outer sections. "What happened?" Foster asked as they rushed through the corridors. "The Krex say the Saurians were planning to attack them after the talks," Harris explained. "The Saurians claim they detected Krex ships moving to block their departure. They reached the human diplomatic vessel, the Swift Messenger. The captain, Laura Woods, was waiting for them. "Everyone aboard now," she ordered. "We're leaving immediately." As the human ship undocked from the station, they watched in horror as more alien vessels joined the battle, the space around them filled with energy beams, missiles, and small fighter craft. "Jump to hyperspace as soon as we're clear," Captain Woods commanded. The Swift Messenger accelerated away from the station. Behind them, a huge explosion lit up the darkness of space. Outpost Zeta 9 had been hit by multiple weapons. "The station," Harris exclaimed. "No time to worry about that now," Woods said grimly. "Prepare for jump." The stars stretched into lines as the ship entered hyperspace, escaping the battle. In the ship's conference room, Foster slumped into a chair. "All those people," she said quietly. "And for what? Pride? Territory?" Captain Woods shook her head. "Deathworld instincts. They can't help it." "We're from a Deathworld too," Foster reminded her. "But we learned to overcome our worst instincts." Woods nodded. "And now we need to decide what to do about two species who haven't." Later, in her private cabin, Foster recorded her report for Earth Command. Her voice was tired but clear. "All diplomatic options have been exhausted. Both the Saurians and the Krex have fully committed to war. The neutral station outpost Zeta 9 has been destroyed, with significant loss of life. I recommend immediate implementation of Protocol Omega." Protocol Omega was the code name for military intervention. After weeks of watching and waiting, humanity would finally show its hand. On Earth, Admiral Morgan received Foster's report. Her decision was immediate. "Prepare the USS Intrepid for combat deployment," she ordered. "It's time to show these Deathworlders what humans are capable of." Across the sector, reports came in of battles between Saurian and Krex forces. Planets were bombarded. Ships were destroyed. Millions died. Neither side would back down. Neither side saw the human warship approaching. The war between the Saurians and the Krex had raged for 1 month. 17 star systems now burned with the fires of their conflict. The planet Nexus Prime, which had started it all, was ruined. Its air was poisoned. Its continents were scarred with craters. No one could live there now, but still they fought over it. The Saurians had created terrible bioweapons that attacked the Krex nervous system. The Krex responded with suicide attacks, sending thousands of small ships to crash into Saurian vessels and bases. Neither side showed mercy. Neither side would surrender. Far from the main battle, a massive ship moved silently through space. The USS Intrepid was humanity's greatest warship. At 2 kilometers long, it was bigger than anything the Saurians or Krex had built. Its black hull absorbed light rather than reflecting it. Only small blue lights along its length showed that it was not simply a hole in space. On the bridge, Captain Richard Miller stood looking at the main screen. It showed the current battle in the Deneb sector, where more than 4,000 alien ships were fighting. The room was quiet despite the 20 crew members working at their stations. The only sounds were the soft beeps of computers and the occasional quiet order. Miller was tall and lean, with short gray hair and a face that rarely showed emotion. He had served in Earth's Space Force for 30 years. He had seen many conflicts, but nothing like this. "Status report," he said calmly. Commander Nicole Winters stepped forward. Her dark skin contrasted with her white uniform. "We're in position, Captain. Both fleets are fully engaged. Total ship count is 4,002, 117 vessels." Miller nodded. "And our system status?" "All systems are green," Winters replied. "Gravitic shield is at full power. Weapons are ready but inactive as ordered." Miller turned to look at the tactical display. Red dots represented Saurian ships. Blue dots showed Krek's vessels. They swarmed around each other like angry insects. "Us in," Miller ordered. "Standard approach. No stealth." The helmsman, a young man named Eric Carter, looked up in surprise. "Sir? No stealth?" "You heard me, Lieutenant," Miller said. "Let them see us coming." The massive engines of the Intrepid flared to life. The great ship moved toward the battle, making no attempt to hide itself. Its sensors detected immediate reactions from both alien fleets as they noticed the newcomer. "They've seen us," Winters reported. "Both fleets are redirecting ships to intercept." Miller smiled slightly. "Good. Broadcast on all frequencies. Standard first contact package plus my recorded message." Communications Officer Sam Rivera nodded. "Broadcasting now, sir." Miller watched as the first wave of alien ships approached. The Intrepid, 20 Saurian cruisers and over 100 Krex fighters were closing fast. Their weapons were hot. "Weapons fire detected," announced Tactical Officer Diane Lee. "Multiple incoming projectiles and energy beams." Miller remained calm. "Deploy the gravitic shield." Chief Engineer Alan Wilson touched several controls on his panel. "Gravitic shield active, Captain." The space around the Intrepid seemed to bend and twist. Light itself curved around the human ship. The incoming weapons fire from both alien fleets encountered this distortion and reacted strangely. Energy beams bent away from their targets, curving off into empty space. Physical projectiles slowed to a complete stop, hanging motionless in the distorted gravity field. "Shield holding at 100%, Wilson reported. "No strain on the generators." Miller nodded, satisfied. "Maintain course and speed, continue broadcast." On every ship in both the Saurian and Krex fleets, the same message played. It showed Captain Miller standing on the bridge of the Intrepid. "Attention. Saurian Dominion and Krex Collective. This is Captain Richard Miller of the Earth vessel USS Intrepid. This conflict ends now. You are not the only Deathworld species in this galaxy, and you are certainly not the most dangerous." More alien ships joined the attack on the Intrepid. Hundreds of weapons fired at once. None penetrated the gravitic shield. "They're increasing their attacks," Winters reported. "The Krex are launching suicide runs." Miller watched as wave after wave of small Krex ships smashed against the invisible wall of the gravitic shield. They exploded harmlessly, unable to reach the human vessel. "Sir," Rivera called out. "We're receiving transmissions from both fleet commanders. They're demanding to know how we're blocking their weapons." "Put them on screen," Miller ordered. The main screen split to show the Saurian High Commander Vrex and Krex Hive Director Kez-Tik. Both looked angry and confused. "What technology is this?" Vrex demanded. "No shield can stop so many weapons at once." "Your interference is unwelcome," chittered Kez-Tik. "This conflict does not concern your species." Miller looked at both alien leaders calmly. "This conflict concerns every species in this sector. You've destroyed 17 systems, you've killed millions. It stops today." "By whose authority?" Vrex snarled. "By mine," Miller said simply. "I command the most powerful warship ever built by a Deathworld species. I could destroy both your fleets without firing a single shot, but that's not why we're here." Both alien leaders were silent for a moment, studying the human. "What do you want?" Kez-Tik finally asked. "I want you both to stand down your forces," Miller replied. "Then I want representatives from both your governments to meet with us. We have a proposal that will benefit everyone." "We do not take orders from lesser species," Vrex growled. Miller smiled. It was not a friendly expression. "Lesser? Look around you, Commander. Your most powerful weapons cannot touch my ship. Your war has been stopped by our mere presence. You call us lesser?" On the tactical display, Miller could see that the attacks had slowed. The alien ships were pulling back, reassessing the situation. "What guarantee do we have that this isn't a trick?" Kez-Tik asked. "Why should we trust humans?" "Because unlike both of you," Miller said, "we learned that the true test of a Deathworld species isn't how well it kills. It's how well it creates. It's how it uses its strength to build rather than destroy." He looked at both alien leaders with steady eyes. "You have 1 hour to decide," Stand down your forces and meet with us, or we will demonstrate exactly what humanity is capable of. Intrepid out. The screen went dark. Miller turned to his crew. All of them looked proud but nervous. Do you think they'll agree, Captain? Winters asked quietly. Miller looked at the tactical display again. The alien ships were retreating from the Intrepid, creating a large empty zone around the human vessel. They'll agree, he said confidently. They're survivors. That's what Deathworld species do best. They know when to fight and when to talk. The bridge crew relaxed slightly. The plan was working. Humanity had stepped onto the galactic stage not as conquerors but as peacekeepers. Miller looked out at the stars. Soon, the real work would begin. Teaching two aggressive species that cooperation was stronger than conflict would not be easy. But humans had learned that lesson long ago on their own deadly world. Perhaps now it was time to share it. 1 month after the USS Intrepid stopped the war, peace talks began on Earth. The location was chosen carefully. The meeting would take place in New Geneva, a huge space station orbiting Earth. Through its clear dome ceiling, both alien groups could see the planet below. They could see the storms that raged across the Pacific Ocean. They could see volcanoes erupting. They could see that Earth, too, was a death world. Representatives from the Saurian Dominion and the Krex Collective stood in the Grand Council chamber. The Saurian diplomat, Lord Krex, wore ceremonial armor that showed his high rank. The Krex, Representative Grand Coordinator Enzkill, was accompanied by 3 worker drones who attended to her needs. Admiral Patricia Morgan entered the chamber. She wore her formal uniform with all her medals. Behind her walked Dr. Abigail Foster, Captain Richard Miller, and several other high-ranking humans. Welcome to Earth, Admiral Morgan said. We are pleased that you have agreed to these peace talks. Lord Krex made a formal bow. The Saurian Dominion recognizes the unexpected strength of humanity. We are curious about your proposals. Grand. Coordinator Enzkill's antennae moved slowly. The Krex Collective acknowledges your technological superiority. We will listen to your terms. Admiral Morgan nodded to Captain Miller, who stepped forward and activated a large holographic display in the center of the room. It showed images of the Intrepid neutralizing the attacks from both fleets. You've experienced what human military technology can do, Miller said. The USS Intrepid stopped your combined fleets without firing a single shot. But that's not why you're here. Dr. Foster stepped forward next. You're here because you finally understand what it means to be a true Deathworld species. Humans didn't just survive our world. We mastered it. Not through biological adaptation alone, but through cooperation despite our differences. The holographic display changed to show Earth's history. It showed world wars, natural disasters, plagues, and climate changes. But it also showed how humans overcame each crisis, how they rebuilt, how they worked together. We call it the Deathworld paradox, Miller explained. The harder the world, the stronger the need for cooperation becomes. You've both evolved physical prowess and aggressive instincts, but humans evolved something more powerful, empathy as a survival trait. Lord Krex looked confused. Empathy. How does feeling for others help survival? Because no single individual or even group can survive a death world alone, Foster replied. By working together, by caring about others, we multiply our strength. One human is weaker than one Saurian or one Krex warrior. But millions of humans working together, that's how we built the Intrepid. Grand Coordinator Enzkill clicked her mandibles thoughtfully. The collective understands group effort, but we limit it to our own kind. Admiral Morgan nodded. And that's the limitation we overcame. We learned to extend cooperation beyond just those who look like us. The holographic display now showed a new image. It was a plan for a space station much larger than New Geneva. The design incorporated elements of all 3 species architecture. This is our proposal, Morgan said. A joint project. A headquarters for what we're calling the Tripartite Alliance, the first cooperative governing body for our sector of space. Lord Krex studied the design. What would this alliance do? It would ensure peace between our peoples, Foster explained. It would coordinate shared research. It would establish fair trade and resource use. Most importantly, it would combine our strengths. Miller touched a control and the display changed again. Saurian engineering is superior to ours in many ways. Your regenerative hull technology could revolutionize space travel. The image shifted to show Krek's biological systems. And the Krek's understanding of adaptive biology could help solve problems on hundreds of worlds. Grand Coordinator Enskill seemed interested. And what would humans contribute? Admiral Morgan smiled. Our ability to find common ground between different groups, our technology, and our promise to protect this alliance with ships like the Intrepid. The talks continued for many days. There were arguments and disagreements. Old hatreds did not disappear quickly. But slowly, progress was made. The memory of the Intrepid's power helped keep both sides at the table. On the final day, a young human diplomat named Jason Phillips approached the alien representatives during a break. Unlike the senior officials, Phillips was new to his role. He had grown up hearing stories about the Deathworlds that had shaped all three species. "May I share something with you?" he asked the alien leaders. Lord Krex looked down at the human with mild interest. "Speak, young one." Phillips took a deep breath. "The most important lesson we learned on Earth was this. On a world that's constantly trying to kill you, your greatest enemy isn't the planet. It's the temptation to become just as merciless as your environment." Grand Coordinator Enskill's antennae twitched. "Explain." "Deathworlds make strong species," Phillips continued. "But strength without compassion, without restraint, leads to self-destruction. Our history is full of times when we nearly wiped ourselves out. We had to learn that strength isn't just about surviving. It's about thriving together." The alien leaders were silent for a moment, considering his words. "Perhaps," Lord Krex said finally, "there is wisdom in what humans have learned." Later that day, the peace treaty was signed. The tripartite alliance was born. Humans would provide the framework for cooperation. Saurian engineering and Krex biological innovations would help solve shared challenges. As the ceremony ended, Admiral Morgan stood beside Dr. Foster, watching the gathering. "Do you think it will last?" Morgan asked, quietly. Foster looked at the aliens and humans talking together, already making plans for joint projects. "It has to," she replied, "because somewhere out there is another Deathworld species, perhaps even more dangerous than all three of us combined. And when we meet them, we'll need to be united." Morgan nodded slowly. "The USS Intrepid was impressive, but it won't be enough forever." "No," Foster agreed. "But what we're building here today might be." Outside the windows of New Geneva, Earth continued its slow spin. Storms formed and died. Volcanoes erupted. Earthquakes shook the land. It was still a death world, but its children had learned to overcome its harsh lessons. Now they would teach others to do the same. The galaxy was full of dangers, but also possibilities. Three death world species working together could face challenges that would destroy any one of them alone. That was the true strength of humanity. Not the weapons they built or the ships they flew, but the bridges they made between those who thought they must be enemies. In the vastness of space, that might be the greatest survival trait of all.